Good morning. Our topic for today is about medieval philosophy, 500 AD to 1350. So, ang medieval philosophy ay nagsimula noong 500 AD or 500 Anno Domini, which is Latin word for Year of Our Lord, to 1350. Theocentric, or having God as a central focus. From the scientific investigation on nature and search for happiness to the question of life and salvation in another realm, in a better world, or mas kilala sa tawag na afterlife. Influence from ancient truth, the human self endures through time, rather imposing than informing, because it was trying to aim paganism and barbarism. So, ang paganism guys ay mas kilala sa tawag na pagans o pagan. Sila yung mga naniniwala na ang kalikasan ay sagrado at natural na mga siklo ng kapanganakan, paglaki at kamatayan na nauobserbahan sa mundo at sa paligid natin ay may malalim na spiritual na kahulugan. Ang barbarism naman ay ang kawalan ng kultura at sibilisasyon, kumbaga kabaliktaran itong dalawa. There was an aim to merge philosophy and religion, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim. So, kumbaga may layunin sila na pagsasamahin ang filosofiya at reliyon, kumbaga nandito yung pagkakaisa. St. Augustine. So, kunting background lang kay St. Augustine. From ancient truth, Augustine is inherited the notion that philosophy is love of wisdom. Ibig sabihin isang pagtatangka na ituloy ang kaligayahan, or as late antique thinkers, both pagan and Christians, like to put its salvation sa pamamagitan ng paghahanap ng pananaw sa tunay na kalikasan ng mga bagay at pamumuhay. Platonic realm of idea or forms. The Christian philosophy of a transcendent God, the self strives to achieve union with God, truth, faith, and reason. The finite, temporary world of Plato becomes a proving ground for our eternal destinies. It means you had a place before this life, and you will also have one after it. Ito yung nagsasabi na wala talaga forever kasi darating talaga yung araw na mawawala ka talaga. How can I be sure that the self exists? What are the proofs that the self exists? Modern philosophy from 14th century to the early 20th century, anthropocentric or centered on the human person. So it means regarding humankind as a central or most important element of existence, especially as opposed to God or animals. Thinkers began to reject the scholastic or medieval thinkers' excessive reliance on authority. Period of radical social, political, and intellectual developments. Genuine knowledge has to be based on independent rational inquiry and real-world experimentation rather than dependent on knowledge handed down by authorities. So one of example dito is yung pag-cheat, like pangungopia sa kaklase. Hindi ka kasi mag-i-exist if umaasa ka lang sa sagot ng iba. So kailangan mo maging independent.
René Descartes, a rationalist. Rationalism is the epistemological theory that believes that knowledge is inborn in the human person. Plato is an example of a rationalist. In the ancient time, Plato defined man as a rational animal, believing that human beings are gifted with intelligence, and in this something that is common to all men. And since man is gifted an intelligence that is nature for man to know, the knowledge is already in the mind. And this is Plato tells us that knowledge is something that is in level of ideas, something that is in the mind, something that is internal, something that is unchanging. Likewise, in the modern times, René Descartes believed that self is a thinking being, that is self is cogito. Therefore, René Descartes is the nature for man to know. Since man has innate knowledge, they say it was also in the belief of Manwak Han for Immanuel Kant, is something that is already built in, since man is gifted with this mind, with this intelligence. That is why Immanuel Kant conclude that the human person possesses the so-called prior knowledge, since this rationalist being that knowledge is innate or inborn in human person. John Locke, an empiricist. Empiricism is a philosophical movement in the modern time founded by John Locke, an English philosopher, and the empiricists believe that knowledge is entire a product of human experience. So this is actually a contradiction to what rationalists have claimed that knowledge is innate. So on the other hand, the empiricism advocates that idea knowledge is entirely a product of human experience, that our knowledge is coming, it's entirely coming from the experience. John Locke, as a father of empiricism, believed that the human mind at birth is empty. He calls this is a tabula rasa. Tabula rasa. In the other word, for Locke, at first, the mind of the person is like an empty tablet, but later on, as the person experiences the world, the society, the environment outside of himself, the person gains knowledge from these experiences. David Hume was a Scottish Enlightenment philosopher. Empiricism, a philosophical doctrine that holds the view that knowledge is derived from experience. Example is inner experience such as dreaming and imagining. Skepticism, the idea known a lot less than we ordinarily take ourselves to. Knowledge of the unobserved. Example, the great white shark in the biggest fish in the ocean. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher and one of the central Enlightenment thinkers. Prior concept, knowledge that is acquired independently of any particular experience as opposed to a posteriori knowledge which is derived from experience. In Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory of personality, the conscious mind consists of everything inside of our awareness. Example, the context of the unconscious might spill into awareness in the form of dreams.
Gilbert Ryle, a physicalist. Behaviorism, no more dichotomy by denying the inner selves, immortal souls, states of consciousness or unconsciousness, entities. The self is a pattern of behavior, the tendency or disposition for a person to behave in certain way in certain circumstances. Kasi kung ano yung sariling ugali mo, yan yung makikita sa iyo ng mga taong nakapaligid sa iyo.
Paul Churchland is a Canadian philosopher known for his studies in neurophilosophy and the philosophy of mind. Churchland believes that beliefs are not ontologically real, that is, he believes that a future fully matured neuroscience is likely to have no need for beliefs in the same manner that modern science discarded such notions as legends or witchcrafts. Edmund Husserl was a German philosopher and mathematician who established the school of phenomenology. In his early work, he elaborated critiques of historicism and of psychologism in logic based on analysis of intentionality. The theory Husserl argued that the study of consciousness must actually be very different from the study of nature. For him, phenomenology does not proceed for the collection of large amounts of data into a general theory beyond the data itself, as is the scientific method of induction. Maurice Merleau-Ponty was a French phenomenological philosopher, strongly influenced by Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger. There is no hard distinction between corporeal and intelligent activity. According to Merleau-Ponty, rather there is a unity of behavior that conveys the intentionality and thus the meaning of this conduct. Habits cause the body to adapt to a intended meaning, resulting in embodied consciousness. Embodied subjectivity. Maurice Merleau-Ponty believed the physical body to be an important part of what makes up the subjectivity self. The physical body is part of self. The perceptions of the mind and the actions of the body are interconnected. The body isn't a prison house of self. It is the subject that embodies self.